60 days ago, I had zero visible abdominal definition. Today, in normal lighting, I have a clear six pack, and I want to show you exactly how it happened. But before I show you the day 1 to day 60 transformation, I want to tell you the one thing nobody told me when I started. The abdominal workouts are the least important part of this entire process. In fact, I only did 2 abdominal exercises for the entire 60 days. 2. And I'll prove to you with actual science why that was the right call. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what body fat percentage you need to reach to see your abdominals, how to get there in a realistic timeline, and the exact protocol I followed that anyone can replicate. Let's get into it. Here's the thing, most people get completely backwards. Abdominals are not a training problem, they are a body fat problem. Every person has abdominal muscles. The visibility and shape of your abdominals, however, are influenced by both your body fat level and your individual muscle anatomy. The question is never whether you have them, it's whether there's enough body fat sitting on top of them to hide them. Research is very clear on what body fat percentage you need to actually see your abdominals. For men, it's typically between 10 and 12%, possibly up to 15% for some people. For women, visible abdominal definition usually appears between 18 and 22%. Above those thresholds, the layer of fat directly under your skin is thick enough to hide the muscle definition entirely. No amount of crunches changes that. This is why you've seen people grinding through 30-minute abdominal workouts for months with zero visible results. You can have the strongest, most developed abdominals in the room, but if they're sitting under a layer of body fat, they are invisible. The training matters, but fat loss is the primary lever, and that is where I focus 90% of my attention. So the main goal is fat loss. We all know you lose fat by eating less than you burn. That's thermodynamics. But the science gets interesting when you ask, how aggressive should the deficit be and what should you be eating? I set my deficit at 500 calories per day below my maintenance level. Research consistently shows this is the sweet spot. At 500 calories below maintenance, you lose roughly 0.5 to 1 kilogram of fat per week. That's fast enough to see meaningful change in 60 days, but controlled enough to preserve lean muscle mass. And that second part matters more than most people realize. Here's why muscle preservation is so critical. Every kilogram of muscle you hold onto increases your resting metabolic rate, makes you look more defined at a lower body weight, and makes your abdominals more visible even at a slightly higher body fat percentage. The crash diet approach, where you drop 1,000 or more calories below maintenance, actually burns a significant portion of lean muscle mass alongside fat. The research on this is very consistent. You end up lighter on the scale, but softer looking. That is not what we're after. For protein, I set a clear target and I hit it every single day. I ate between 1.8 and 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Research shows this is the optimal range for retaining muscle during a fat loss phase. High protein keeps you fuller for longer, and your body actually burns more calories just digesting it compared to carbs or fats. Protein was my anchor. Everything else, the fats and carbs, I adjusted flexibly around that number. Now let's talk about training. I lifted weights 3 days per week, hitting every major muscle group, and yes, I included direct abdominal training, but here's what might surprise you. I did exactly 2 abdominal exercises, a weighted crunch, and a leg raise. That's it. Not a 30-minute circuit, not daily abdominal burnouts, 2 exercises performed with progressive overload twice per week. Here's why this is actually the right approach. Your abdominals are a muscle like any other muscle. For a muscle to grow and become more defined, you need progressive overload. You need to add weight or reps over time. The endless burnout circuits you see everywhere give you muscular endurance, not muscle development. They're basically cardio for your midsection. And if your abdominals are still covered by body fat, endurance doesn't help you. What I did instead was load the exercises. For the weighted crunch, I held a plate on my chest and focused on actually crunching the abdominal muscles through a full range of motion. For the leg raise, I hung from a bar and raised my legs in a controlled way, taking the last set all the way to failure. 3 sets each, twice per week, adding weight or reps every session I could. Outside of direct abdominal work, the rest of my training was compound lifts, squats, deadlifts, rows, overhead press. These movements recruit your core muscles heavily as stabilizers, and they burn significantly more total calories than isolation work. They also protect your lean mass while you're in a deficit. Both of those things are exactly what you need. I added 2 cardio sessions per week. Each one was 30 to 40 minutes of moderate intensity, steady state cardio. I want to be clear about why. Cardio is not magic. You cannot outrun a bad diet. What cardio actually does is create extra caloric expenditure, which meant I could eat slightly more food while staying at the same deficit. For me, that made the whole thing more sustainable. I wasn't as hungry, I had more flexibility with what I ate, and I felt better from day to day. A lot of people push high intensity interval training as the better option for fat loss. The research is more nuanced than that. HIIT can burn more calories per minute than steady state cardio, but total calorie burn per session is often similar because HIIT sessions are much shorter, and HIIT is much more taxing on your recovery. Since I was already doing 3 lifting sessions per week, I chose steady state cardio to protect my ability to recover between training sessions. Both approaches work for fat loss. The one that wins is the one you'll actually stick to. Here's exactly what happened over those 60 days. Days 1 through 10 were honestly unremarkable. I was down about a kilogram on the scale, no visible change in my midsection whatsoever, and this is the part where most people quit, because it looks like nothing is happening and the effort is very real. What I kept reminding myself is that early weight loss on a cut is largely water weight and glycogen depletion, not actual fat. The fat loss was happening, it was just spread across my whole body, and my abdominals are one of the last places you see it. By day 30, I was down 3.5 kilograms from my starting weight. My waist was noticeably smaller when I measured with a tape measure. You could start to see the vertical line running down the center of my abdominals, what's called the linea alba. Still no dramatic definition, but the direction was clearly working. Day 60, down 6.2 kilograms total from day 1. Worth noting that some of that weight loss was water and glycogen from the early weeks, not pure body fat. But based on a DEXA scan, my body fat was estimated at around 11 to 12%, and for the first time, actual visible abdominals. Not in perfect lighting, not after a pump, not tensing as hard as I can. Just a regular morning, regular lighting, clearly visible definition. 6 kilograms of fat loss in 60 days, done consistently, sustainably, using nothing but a caloric deficit, high protein, and progressive training. If I could redo those 60 days, there are 2 things I'd change. First, I'd protect my sleep more aggressively. In weeks 3 and 4, I was consistently sleeping around 6 hours a night instead of my target of 7 to 8. Research shows that even mild ongoing sleep deprivation significantly raises cortisol levels, and elevated cortisol both slows fat loss and makes you significantly hungrier. My adherence was noticeably worse during those weeks, and I'm confident sleep was a major reason. Second, I'd take weekly progress photos from day 1. The scale doesn't tell you what your body composition is actually doing. Progress photos in the same lighting and the same time of day show you things the scale completely misses. Seeing the visual change week to week also keeps motivation high during the periods where the scale moves slowly. Here's the full protocol condensed. Number 1, find your maintenance calories by tracking what you eat for 2 weeks with no weight change, then subtract 500 calories per day from that number. Number 2, eat between 1.8 and 2 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight every single day. This is not optional. Number 3, lift weights 3 days per week. Prioritize compound movements. Add direct abdominal training twice per week with progressive overload, a loaded crunch, and a leg raise, 3 sets each. Number 4, add 1 or 2 cardio sessions per week if it helps you maintain the deficit without feeling miserable. Number 5, protect your sleep. 7 to 9 hours. Treat it as a required part of the protocol, not a bonus. Number 6, measure your progress weekly with both the scale and a tape measure around your waist, and take photos. Trust the process over a 60 to 90 day window, not a 7-day window. The 6-pack you're looking for is at the end of a fat loss phase, not a core training phase. Get lean first, the abdominals are already there. If you want to actually do this yourself, every step I just described is something you can start today. No special equipment, no extreme diet. Just a real deficit, real protein, and 2 abdominal exercises done the right way. If this helped you, drop a like. It makes a real difference for this channel. And if you know someone who's been doing endless abdominal circuits with no results, send this to them. The information in this video could save them months of frustrated effort. I'll see you in the next one.